So obviously there was a full week of shows, Raw, SmackDown, everything in between. Kind of wanted to get into like some quick analysis about the shows, what you noticed, what were some takeaways, what things stood out to you about each show, especially since you're a prophet now, right? You literally called the Hit Row return, and the next thing you know, the vibe is back. So I definitely wanted to know your takeaways from SmackDown, Raw, all of that.
Oh my God. Well, first, can we just jump into Hit Row?
Absolutely.
Just because, I was just so excited. Like, honestly, I didn't expect for them to show up like literally 5 days after I just said on the mic that they're going to show up. But I love the way that they introduced them. I love that the pop that they got from the crowd was so electrifying. They came out and I feel like they almost proved everyone wrong. They came in with a purpose and they wanted to show everyone that they didn't need a fourth person in order to have this faction going, that they could hold their own. I thought their tag team match was fun. It was fresh. And I love the way that they closed it out when they were saying the original
OG3.
OGs.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, they were trying to make a point that, yeah, we're not getting a fourth person anytime soon. We're doing us. We came in as a trio. We gonna ride as a trio. And then it almost made me think to myself for a moment just how much what were their names? Enzo
and Cass
and Big Cass. Yeah. For some reason, my brain made a connection to them with the way they had the crowd wrapped around around their fingers. I'm like, yeah, they're definitely going to be like that for at least Friday night.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They're definitely going to be they're definitely going to be a group where we're going to see a lot more promos for them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm
You're
sorry.
good.
I'm a little bit tired.
Listen,
now, so
listen. It's 8 on the west, 8 some on the West Coast. So I get it. I was gonna say I agree with the Hit Row analysis. I think that they were definitely one of the highlights of the show. Being able to bring them in, the entrance, obviously fire. Like I just loved their match, their flow, their chemistry. Like they very much remind me of like the cool kids in high school that's just like posted up, like that like they're the cool kids, and I like that vibe. And I just like that the fact that they've kind of built this fan base and this allure even through their absence, right? Like people wanted them back, and so I think that they're going to definitely do damage. I see multiple tag team title reigns in their future, and I think that ultimately is going to lead to a deeper tag team division in WWE as a whole, but definitely on SmackDown. I definitely want to see how a LDF versus Hit Row on SmackDown would translate into. I think that's going to be a banger of a feud, a banger of a match. So I'm really, really excited about Hit Row. I would say another highlight of that show was the Intercontinental Championship match. Good God. They main evented the show, and rightfully so. They literally stole the show. I think they stole the show in my opinion. That they got 25 minutes as a mid-card title, which I don't think that we have seen in a long time. And then Gunter cut this promo online afterward talking about the prestige, and it was like, this feels important again. This feels super important again, and I love it because the truth of the matter is that not everybody can be world champion. Not everybody can be the WWE, undisputed WWE Universal Champion. And I think that one of the biggest flaws that WWE had when it was under Vince's reign, especially when Brock was the champion, he was absent, was now immediately assigning prestige to the Intercontinental and the U.S. Championship because the WWE or the World Heavyweight Championship wasn't around. So the fact that they're building prestige while the champion is still active, while the champion is still showing up, it's only going to do wonders for them in the long term because now they don't have to rush prestige. It's like, okay, well, if you ain't here, we got these titles here, and they are also just as important. And I feel like Gunter is a great champion. I think that he puts on great matches. I love his presence. In incredible shape. Like, I'm just very, very, very excited to see where this goes in the future. So I think that was kind of like my my analysis on SmackDown, Hit Row and the Intercontinental Championship were definitely the highlights of that show.
Did you feel like you got a little bit of vintage Nakamura in that match too?
I did. I feel like we got strong style Nakamura. And I think that was important. And I think that was very intentional. I feel like, you know, part of the reason why Shinsuke was brought over to WWE was because of you know, what he was doing in New Japan Pro Wrestling and the foundation and the legacy that he left behind. And I noticed that, you know, Shinsuke being in this match was definitely an intentional decision, because one of the last things that Shinsuke did in New Japan Pro Wrestling was build the prestige of the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. So I feel like him being put in this picture kind of brought him back to a place where I'm not the rock star. I'm not the guy who says one word. I'm not the guy who does a little, you know, 5Gs in the middle of the ring. No. I'm the king of strong style. And I feel like the king of strong style is back. And I love that. And I love that for him.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to add, not just with him, but everybody looked like they were having more fun in the ring. That's one big thing I noticed from both Raw and SmackDown. Like the part that popped me during Nakamura's match was when he went up to he came out the ring and he yelled out 9 really loud. So what was that guy's name? I'm sorry, I forget. Gunther's partner.
I forgot his name. Ludwig. Is this Ludwig?
Yeah, he just pulled one of his strong style moves, slid from underneath Gunther's legs, and then just went up to him and yelled 9. And just went back into the ring. I was like, he's having way too much fun. Yeah, that makes me. But I'm like, I love that. I love that. Like all the wrestlers that come in, they have more energy during their matches. I felt like when, if you were to compare from like a month ago to now, a lot of the people were just kind of doing everything automated as if it was just rehearsed, and they're trying to get through these 2 to 15 minutes. But again, like I noticed that, like, and it shows in their faces, it shows in their energy, because like now they have more pull. They could kind of do what they want and be who they want to be. And I actually love that for them, because it makes me feel excited as a fan to watch when I see that, you know, the talents themselves are having a good time and that they have free reign.
Absolutely.
You know, like now the world is their oyster. They could like literally take their character and their story as far as they want, because they're not constricted to like a small script or being told that they can only condense their moveset into a few moves for the audience or whatever. So that's just one thing I really love. That was like definitely my biggest takeaway from both Raw and SmackDown.
I agree with that. I was going to say, now speaking of Raw, we can go into that just a little bit, because obviously going from SmackDown into Raw, at the end of SmackDown, it was announced that it was going to be Bobby Lashley versus AJ Styles for the U.S. title. That match delivered. Once again, another 20 to 25 minute match. Both guys felt like they had something to prove. Even the video packages kind of outlined the fact that these guys are both future Hall of Famers. These guys already have championships. These guys are already world traveled. And so this is the first time ever that they're meeting in the ring. And I'm like, that's a great way to build prestige. It's like, this is a first time matchup. You got two guys who are, you know, powerhouses, great at what they do. And I feel like they didn't disappoint. I think it was a great match. Now, the question is, how do they top that? Obviously, Bobby retained. I want to see who the next challenger is, who's going to step up. But outside of that, there were a lot of interesting things that were happening on Raw. And I wanted to know if you had gotten any big takeaways from what you saw on Raw.
Oh, Kevin Owens was my biggest takeaway.
Yes.
I actually love their callback with him and Drew McIntyre from 1.0. I love the fact that they led the promos with that, and that Kevin Owens just made it blatantly known that like the old him is coming back, and he's definitely gonna be fighting for title belts this time. I don't think he held a title belt in like five years. And they definitely put on a banger themselves. And at first I actually was upset with the ending. I was just like, why would they have that end in interference? A match that good and long should have definitely had a winner. But then I'm like, wait, no, I'm thinking like Vince, because Vince would have definitely had one of them lose and they had a rematch and they had a rematch or whatnot, and then put it on a pay-per-view or whatnot. And you can't have two people been built up just like that in one promo, making references to the banger they had put on years ago, and then have one of them immediately lose and then establish that this person is more dominant than this person. Right. So when I thought about it further, I'm like, all right, you know what? That was a clever call, because now I'm interested in seeing what more do these people have to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. You know, because I haven't cared for. I always care about Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, he's a fascinating human being, because he'll take any script or any position that he's in and find a way to be funny, entertaining, relevant, or whatnot, even if he doesn't have a belt on him. Drew has been a bit of a disappointment to me, not because that he's bad at his job. It's just his booking has been so ass that I just have a hard time investing into him the way I was invested in like 2018 and prior. Yeah. So I love this for him, because it's definitely going to build his stocks again.
Absolutely.
To me, that was just like the funnest match of the night for me personally.
I definitely agree with that. I actually, once, like, to kind of align with you, I agree with the whole, like, I didn't know why it was booked the way that it was booked. But I felt like if this is a new Kevin Owens, he has to be kept strong. And I feel like the booking that they did on this definitely kept him strong, definitely kept him kind of like, this is a force to be reckoned with. And if you noticed, he was really the only one that kind of walked away on his own accord, right? Like, he was the one that stunned everybody, said, you owe me one. And that was an interesting thing, because who is involved in a bloodline storyline? Sami Zayn. So are we going to see a reunion? And he mentioned that he can go for the tag belts. Are we going to see them become a tag team? Which I definitely wouldn't mind. But yeah, I think that was a really good booking decision in hindsight, because it kept him looking strong. I feel like another thing that I noticed was still that WWE, even though Hunter's kind of like having an influence and he's taking control and there's going to be more creative freedom, I feel like WWE is still going to be a place where the big guys, the larger men, are going to be more prevalent. I feel like they're not going to get away from that. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's okay. I just feel like it's going to, like, they can be big and whatever, but they have to have a certain nuance and a certain edge to them. They can't just be, you know what I mean, just big. Like, that can't be their personality trait. And so that was another thing that I kind of took.
I feel like it's in any wrestling company.
Right. That was another thing that I kind of took away from that. And I just love how they continue to plant seeds for long-term storytelling. The hand on the wall in that backstage segment. Did you see that? It was on Twitter.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It was a very, like, is this a Bray Wyatt tease? So I'm very, very interested in knowing what's to come. I feel like there were a lot of seeds planted, and I think that was a very, 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 very intentional, and I think it was a great thing to do.